Oh, yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Roll out the good as the breeze. All it look like a science book, serious you never teach. Rev the truck up to the mountain top, and as soon as we reach, don't get the sun, keep your shoes up and feet, and the bless the cup, 32 songs to read. Give down to the love and receive the work every day. In the street, and every day, every night like these. When a holiday, tough on the beach, white t-shirt, the coffee, and we don't need no sneaker. No, sun great, the massage, the feet, bless you, love, and breathe. Earth up a speech is in the indica, we a car and set. Sun burning up till it red. Welcome to Kingston every day. It's a summer every night, feel like a Friday. Rep the bike till I'm sweating. It's on my eye grade, I make the irate. Still in the now, every day. And nobody thinks that the great the Friday. Oh yeah, oh yeah. General, when you touch it with me, have a different song. Brother, never go to the strange. Earth with the devil, ever on one corner. Several in the chalice.
Oh yeah, and we are getting this party started on a Friday. What feels like a Friday. That's what the song's about. Every day feels like a Friday when we're trading. And we've actually hit a nice bag this morning. If you were with me in the Stock Mavericks room under Simpler Trading website, we actually were able to hit the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Beautiful moves there to start our morning, especially when the markets have been giving us some flippy-floppy action. But today we're getting a huge push here as the QQQ and SPY are making new highs right now, and they're recovering a lot of that loss. Still not all of the loss that we created the past 2 weeks, because we've had a pretty ugly past 2 weeks, but we're finally getting a bounce, and that means we're going to probably find something for overnight. Welcome, everybody, live. Those of you guys that are here joining me live on YouTube, and welcome, everybody, on the Simpler Trading Room, the Stock Maverick team. For those of you guys that don't know what I'm talking about, you can always find me every day live and trading with my team under simplertrading.com in Stock Mavericks is what the room is called. But huge days finally for the QQQ and SPY. Even though the markets have been falling, we've still been able to make stuff happen. And today we actually started the day with a bag, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But there are a couple stocks that I do like right now. So I think I'd rather get into that here because we only got 50 minutes left here. So let's see what we got in the last 50 minutes. There's actually 5 stocks specifically that I like to put on my overnight watch list. My overnight watch list is something that I create every single day. And every single day I make that watch list with my team. And we look to try to take 1, 2 of those possibly overnight. I mean, if it's really hot, maybe even 3. I don't usually recommend taking all 5. It's a little too much overnight. But yesterday we had the 2 big gap ups in FNMA and FMCC. If you weren't aware of what they did yesterday, I'll just give you a quick little glimpse at them. We had a huge green day because our good old man Bill Ackman said that they were very cheap. This guy's been in them since $2. After he said that, both FNMA and FMCC spiked 50%. We actually bought this one early in the morning at $5, and it spiked all the way up to $6.80, $6.70, but I sold it a little too quick on the first original spike, and then we bought it for a gap up the next morning. And look at these gap ups that they had. Even though they've come down now, they both ended up gapping up really nicely, and that's usually what I look for. So let's see if we could find another one that can do something very similar to what those did overnight. But nice work for those of you guys that were with me. The 5 that I personally like right now, so there is a group that I like. We got a great wide variety of stuff. We have larger stocks that you could look at options. We have small cap stuff. All of them are different sectors. So let's dive in and let's talk about it. It starts off with BTQ. This is a quantum sector. This used to be BTQQF, which was an OTC stock. What I look for is a first green day to follow up. You can see last time it gapped up and this time it gapped up. So you'd hope something like that happens again. We would use now 255 as risk. which I don't love as much because technically it was holding 240 all day, but the whole market kind of just pushed up. So the key thing about what I like to do and with my overnight watch list is I like to make key daily resistance and daily support spots. And those support spots is where I like to cut. And right now, BTQ has just been holding this 255 ever since this spike, pretty much 250, you could say. So this is definitely number one on there. And it also has news this morning. Whenever stock has news, there's a little cherry on top of your ice cream right there. So there is some news on BTQ. Nice first green day, looking for a gap up follow up. Since it's listed, it most likely will probably get a little affected by the market. So hopefully markets don't gap down too much if we decide to go after this one. But BTQ, nice watcher. You also have ABAT. I like this for a possible gap up overnight. Both of those are listed stocks. And the good thing, I want to trade a listed stock because there's also a stock I like a lot tomorrow that I have my eye on for tomorrow morning. So I'd rather trade some listed stuff for now. But ABAT is the second one. If you look at ABAT, it actually came down to the 6-month support right about that level, and it's trying to bounce. This stock's known to follow up. I've actually played it before with gap ups. So another stock that's followed up in its past that's creating a first green day. And we actually bought some already at 280. So I've already started a little bit up at 280. I want a dip. When I look into these stocks, I look for a dip. So as of right now, we got it holding, but I'd rather get it closer to this 275. Either way, we got ourselves some starters because we do see some follow-ups in the past. And then the other ones that we're eyeing down, there's a couple other ones. We have Celsius, which is higher priced, but this is a stock that also has huge gap ups in its past after first green days. This one will probably trend with the market, but this is Celsius, the energy drink. Came all the way back down to long-term support from $58. That's a pretty big drop. So usually for this stock, you could trade equity or you can do options. Remember, Friday is off. So the markets are closed on Friday. So since the markets are closed on Friday, the options will expire a day earlier. So you got to be a little more careful when you're playing options, but nice first green day. And usually I look for stuff to happen from one day to the next. So if I'm looking at to happen from one day to the next, then this is still a nice watcher for an option for this week. The other option I thought that was really nice, and both of these come from our weekly watch list, is Microsoft. Microsoft, another one that's just got so many downward days at this point. It looks like it's so due to gap up or at least give us a nice little push. So both Microsoft and Celsius, I could say you could pick either one. I like Celsius better, but it would be one or the other. I'm not going to put both of them on there. So that'll be one I like. And then the last two are lighter volume ones. One OTC and the other one's listed. This is a drone stock. It's a little bit lighter volume than most of them, but it also has a lot of gap ups after first green days. And this is multiple red days. And now we're creating a first green day. So I'll be eyeing down this one as well in the listed range. And then the last one is actually an OTC stock. I decided to pick a cannabis stock. It has news this morning. They actually came out with earnings. They got a first green day. They have follow-up days in the past. This is actually Charlotte's Web. It's a CBD-related company. They're in like CVS. And honestly, MSOS, which is the ETF to cannabis, is creating a really nice first green day with the rest of the market. I don't trust any cannabis stocks right now, but they're all kind of creating this small bounce green day. Tilray, which is a cannabis listed watcher, has earnings after the bell, so maybe something could get started. You also have CGC that's creating this small little first green day as well. So who knows? I'm not going to trust the cannabis yet. I have that one Charlotte's Web on there. That's the only one. But we'll keep an eye on all of those. So now I'm going to make the overnight watch list. And what I like to do is, like I said, try to take 1 to 2 of those overnight. I'm averaging about 2 overnight a day. So we'll probably end up taking 2 with this strong day. I don't want to end up too loaded up because there is one stock that we're looking at, and it's ASTC for tomorrow. So this one actually, darn it, it started to creep up. I hope it doesn't get too high. But this is one that's making 2 green days in a row that looks like we might squeeze tomorrow morning. We'll go over that a little bit later in this session. But this looks very good for tomorrow morning. If you're wondering how, we'll talk about that in a little bit. So you want to have a little bit money, I would say, available as well tomorrow morning. The only morning play that we thought about doing was SIDU, the space stock, because we're going to be going to the moon tomorrow. USA actually takes off to go to the moon for the first time in 40 years. Pretty cool stuff. I'm actually really excited for it. It's not till after the market at 6:24 is when they're supposed to blast off. So I was watching the space stock, and it went from 220 this morning, which we were watching it at, to 240. So it was a small win if you did take it. It does have earnings overnight, so I don't like it anymore. So it's not going to really be on my watchers as much. So if anyone has any questions or tickers themselves, let me know. We had Zcash as a watcher too, because Zcash, that stock actually does look pretty good. So the Zcash related stocks that we like to look at is ZCSH. And that one's creating a first green day. It's just too light volume for me, but also really nice first green day for a Zcash related stock. And then you also have CYPH, which is another good moving Zcash related stock. So Bitcoin stocks are starting up a little bit. I'm not quite trusting the Bitcoin move, but the beauty about this small bounce that you're seeing right now is, imagine if we continue this bounce for multiple days, we'll have multiple sectors that start to heat up. So be on the lookout for that. BTQ making new highs here. I don't want to chase it at highs, but I am watching it really closely because I do think I want a piece of that overnight. But let me make the overnight watch list. I know I saw the BKRRF's not bad at all, Johnny, either. That was the other OTC I was thinking about. But I just feel like there's other better ones. The listed ones, I do feel like today are a little better. But if the market does gap down, and the market is very news related, you have to make sure you stick to your cut in those listed stocks. All right, so just give me a couple of seconds here, or I guess 2 minutes here, and I'll update this list. Once I'm done, we'll review the list together, but I'd say my two favorite ones right now are BTQ and and ABAT. You have other big runners as well to keep an eye on if you really like those huge runners, like ASTC was yesterday. We have a really big runner today in BFRG. I usually like to play these a couple days later. But this is an AI related stock creating a nice spike. We're officially in our last day of April trading. So let me just finish this. Once I finish this, we're going to go over it. Just give me a second. I'm looking for BTQ and and ABAT to get a dip. So if they get a dip, that's usually when I like to go after them. What happens, this one's making new highs, but usually I say dips are discounts in this game. So the lower I look for, the better, in my opinion. All right, we got a couple more left. The next one I think I'm going to do on here is going to be... I know Hover's lighter volume, but we're going to go for it. We'll do that one as the third one. And I'm just updating the list. The key thing about this list is I always put key resistance and support spots. This one doesn't have news. And those are levels that you need to watch for cut levels and to see if they can break out. And on Charlotte's Web here, I know it's lighter volume, but as long as you stick to the cut, technically this 97 is like 3-year high or 4-year high. If you zoom out to it, it's been a really big runner in the way past. All right, nice. So ABAT's getting a little dip. This is where we get to a little more interested in what we see here. Let's see where it wants to dip to. The SPY and the QQQ small dip, but barely anything. 281 has been pretty heavy. There was a huge seller that came in midday at ABAT right here at 272. At 280, and the volume came in. It was at 2:50 p.m. Eastern. You can see the volume. I was watching the level 2s. That's what I have up right here. Level 2s in time of sales, and that's what I'm looking at. But I want to see this hold 275 really quick. And then I'd love BTQ to dip. I have one more left on this list, and then we're going to go over it. I'm going to put some limits in here. All right, so let's dive in. I just finished the lists, so let me pull it up, and then we're going to talk about it here and see if there's anything that we can take overnight here. All right, so these are the 5 that I decided to put there as we start to try to get some ABAT on this dip. But the 5 that I got with ABAT being number 1 is ABAT. The whole key behind this overnight watch list is you want to buy as close to the support and sell above the resistance. And that these stocks usually give you a 3-to-1 reward ratio, sometimes a little more. And you try to just keep sticking with that. So nothing's guaranteed though, obviously. But I've been doing this now for 10 years. And 7 of them have been consistent. So let's see this ABAT as number 1, 285 highs, 275 hold. Technically 265 would be the support. But for now, I want to say 275 because it's holding and the markets are holding. Everything's kind of staying strong. It seems like the markets are really holding everything up. If you look at all these listed stocks, they kind of got this midday spike. And I was watching a midday, in the chat, but I said I didn't really want to go after anything midday after the market spike. I wanted to see them settle. And now that they've settled, it looks like the market's holding enough for a possible follow-up. Now, I'm not looking to take these over and over and over again. I'm just looking to take these one day to the next. That's it. So we'll see if anything crazy comes out of them. The next one is BTQ, and this one has just gapped up so many times before. We've actually played it before. If you've been with me now for over 3 months, we played it back here, and we had it on the overnight watch list here, and there it is again. This was a former OTC stock, BTQQF, and it ran out the gate once it went listed. So now it's making this move. It also has news this morning. That's always the bonus on top. And then, and now BTQ is making new highs. So I bought a little more ABAT here at 278 and 279. We're trying to size our way in for a gap up using that 275, 265 area as cut. The last group of stocks that we got on that overnight watch list, the beauty about the overnight watch list is you can get a feel for what stocks you like. At the end of the day, it's just the pattern that makes more sense. All these patterns are based off of emotions. So usually they work for all different things, call options, as well as, options, as well as Hover and Charlotte's Web just buying stocks. And Hover is very light. You can see we'd look for a gap there. Charlotte Web also very light. But both of them have support levels, and that's what's key. As long as they hold support, you look for them to break the resistance, and usually they could follow up. And then that last one we did was a higher priced one, and that's Celsius. I picked Celsius, but I did like this on the weekly watch list. We were actually looking at this yesterday when it was bottoming out right at long-term support, and it's come down from 58. This looks pretty good on the long-term chart. And honestly, so does Microsoft. These were the two I said, maybe on your long-term charts, they don't have a bad idea. Maybe add a little. But I like what we got here. I also don't want to get too crazy because we have ASTC, which we'll talk about in about a couple minutes. But there's been some huge runners lately in this price range too. What's even better, they've been in this price range, and I've been logging them on my Excel sheet. So we've been making this Excel sheet of this momentum squeeze plays. It's usually in the morning, but I'm just going to call them the momentum squeeze plays because we never know. They sometimes could be a little later than the morning. But you can see what I'm talking about here. We had BIAF that went crazy. HCWB didn't go too nuts, but it still worked. UGRO was the biggest runner I've seen last week in a while. And then EEIQ and ASTC. EEIQ worked too. But UGRO is a good example. A stock that makes a huge day, consolidation day, not too much volume. And then the next day went absolutely crazy. There's usually key lines I like to put on these that make them blast off, but this one ran from literally $6 to 36, and I actually had this one at 680. Pretty disappointing I didn't hold too long. And then the other one that went pretty nicely, the first one that we were logging was that BIAF. This was last week or 2 weeks ago, It had that huge day, consolidation day, light volume, went crazy. And then we just had EEIQ, which was very similar price. $5 per stock, went to 12, held right around there, and then went nuts. It didn't go too crazy, but it still spiked to 11, which is a lot. So if you look at the one we just talked about, ASTC, it's in the same price range, which is actually pretty wild. I'll put my lines later on today, but these are definitely something that we want to focus and maybe have a little bit of cash available tomorrow morning as well. So maybe not going too crazy overnight, because what if this stock market does gap down? I do think we're strong enough to at least push up and follow up another morning. Who knows what's going to happen after that? But we're so news related right now in the market. It's kind of crazy. Once a good news article or just some sort of thing is said, we get these spikes. But that should get you excited. I'm so excited after seeing what happened today on that spike, and nothing really too nuts with news-related stuff is going to get it going. But that was a big spike. We'll see if this sucks people in and keeps it coming down, or if it's a real bounce that turns things around. The last thing I want to talk about before I buy more ABAT, because we still have 25 minutes, and I know you're probably wondering, why isn't he looking at ABAT? I am watching it on other screens, and honestly, I got my limits in. I try to buy when they come down to me instead of letting them come up. And we still have 25 minutes. It's not a fast moving stock. I know that. There's different style of stock. Like Johnny just brought up Beyond in my chat room. And Beyond's a faster moving stock. But this one has earnings after the bell. So I can't touch it. But it's nice to see some meme stocks like Beyond and GoPro creating first green days. These are old runners that actually went nuts. GoPro's actually creating a pretty nice first green day here. Another one that you could say is a watcher. But the last thing I wanted to bring up was the space stocks, because tomorrow we are going to be going to the moon, or at least taking off. And SPCE, which is Virgin Galactic, actually had earnings this morning and spiked really big. They haven't been able to follow up, but a really nice spike and bounces that have happened in Virgin Galactic. So nice to see. Good opportunity there, midday at least. But now we have SIDU, which is another space stock coming out with earnings after the bell. So if we keep getting earnings stocks that are spiking, and then we have the takeoff tomorrow, who knows what we can get going. I like SIDU a lot. I'd probably be playing this for overnight if it wasn't earnings, but it's got earnings. But this is one we've been watching since the morning watch list at 220. And then you have some other higher priced ones. Lunar, LUNR. It's a great one to actually watch. If you like to watch high priced ones, you have Rocket Labs. This one has some good options to keep an eye on. You have ASTS, GSAT, GSAT. All of these are space related stocks. And then the ETF is UFO. So there's a little space sector that you can kind of collect there. All right, so with the last little bit of time we have, what we're going to be looking for is obviously dips, and that's when I get the rest of mine filled. Usually my position size is around $10,000 when I really like it, like yesterday in Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. But if it's something like I still want ASTC, I'll probably go half of that or so. And I got to do better with sizing up. We're working on that, but it's a good little indicator for me. Anybody have any questions or anything in the past 20 minutes or in the past 37 minutes? We do only have 20 minutes left. So if you have any tickers yourself, let me know. That beyond I can't go after because of earnings. What else do we got, guys? What else are we looking at? We actually have a nice list of stocks tomorrow that are creating earnings. And you never know what can get started if a stock spikes enough after earnings. But look at all the malls that are creating earnings. Cedu, space stock. Beyond, meme. Wrecker, robotic stock. Tilray, cannabis. FFAI, AI. NAC, metals. And Xena is drone. So you have almost every sector. There's probably a lot more, but those are just the ones that I noticed as I was scanning down the field. And then you still have this big runner over here, BFRG, that's creating this big day. I don't really trust it as much, but usually we look for follow-ups like I was just showing on that morning momentum or the squeeze. That momentum squeezer. Another huge runner today. We had MASK that's up 100%. What's the news here? I don't know. Another M stock, MIST, with the first green day, up 25%. I wouldn't really trust. I mean, this one's the first green day. This one's a little better than Mask. Mask, I don't know. I've never played this one before. Too sketchy for me. But you find what works for you. Huge bounces in smaller cap stocks like BBAI and AI stock. It's just great to see and just shows you what's around the corner. You have Celsius making new highs. Anybody decided to go after that Celsius? The options I'd probably look for, you either want to look for this week, which are going to expire in 2 days, or next week. So there's not really any volume there. Let's see about next week. Probably even has worse volume. Yeah. I mean, if it gaps up, it's going to gap, but I just like the equity on it then. Which is still an option here. With the listed stocks, you do want to keep an eye on them after hours. They do move till 8 p.m. Eastern, and you can sell them before that if you do like the push, or definitely if they fall down enough, you want to make sure you get out. That Zcash stock that I brought up is a little spread still, but look at the push that we're getting. We're starting to spike to new highs. And Zcash is on the long-term chart. If you go back to Zcash when we were looking at it, it's bouncing off of 200 really nicely today. Now it's up 15% today. It was up 10% earlier when we were looking at it. So the growth continues there, which is nice to see. Oh, geez. We got 20 minutes left in this day. Let's see if anything can come out of it. Yesterday, it was too good to be true with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and I was even saying that as the days were closing out. I was saying, oh, no, this is too good to be true. And then I ended up taking it. I was trying to wait for a dip, just like I'm trying right now in ABAT and BTQ, so I'll probably go after them if they don't dip. But if I went after FNMA and FMCC earlier, my bags would have been even bigger. Could have won close to like 1,500. I didn't go after them till up here, but this was really the real spots on the higher day breaks at the way end of the day in the last 40 minutes. So we'll see if we can get a dip or probably a push maybe in these last couple of minutes. Both QQQ and SPY making new highs into the close. We're finally getting some sort of relief after the craziness that we've had. I like BTQ and the way it's closing. It's been no dip at all, so you could even use 260 as cut if you really want to at this point. The higher the cut, the more likely you have a chance to cut it, but you can't win without giving yourself a chance. And how do you give yourself a chance? You got to at least get in the stock. You sit on the sideline, you're not going to win. So yesterday, like I was saying with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they looked too good to be true, so I tried to wait. But at the end of the day, the way that they were closing, I just had to get in. Very strong closes, and they were up 40% plus. I always like to describe it as like a water hose that you shut off, or like a faucet that you shut off. And when you turn it back on, it squirts out really high, and that's going to happen too here. If the day closes with a really good strength, it's probably going to end up at least getting that burst in the morning. And that's exactly what happened. It wasn't much, but the gap up was good enough that you didn't really need to hold it. We actually sold it pretty nicely right here too. All right, so let's see if there's any dip here until the end of the day. It seems like the listed stocks are still holding. We haven't really got too much of a dip in any of them. Hover, very light volume, so I don't see a dip there. But all of them, what we look for is just holds and a possible gap up at this point. For ASTC, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start setting up my lines. So, because I don't think we're going to come down to the bottom line or a VWAP. So I always like to do a line at low a day. I don't know what VWAP close is about to be, but VWAP close and high a day, and then where it closes. There's certain lines I like to put on, and then I'll chart it. So low a day is pretty much 402. And we've already started it up a little bit here. And I'll go through the rest of it, but definitely something that's been very useful. And all of those stocks have been going pretty nuts lately. I'll finish that off in the last minute or so. So we're in the last quarter. We have 15 minutes left. Any sports fans out there? We've had a crazy March Madness. We got UConn making a pretty nice move. Any of those UConn fans? My fiance's mom went there, so it's been nice to watch them make a little run. She's actually from that area. we're getting to hockey and basketball playoffs. Pretty excited for that. Be nice to get a little play-in tournament with the Heat and the Magic. Get a little in-state rivalry going. Microsoft making new highs. I'm not going to chase after these, but nice pushes in both Microsoft and Celsius here to close the day. I'll keep an eye on them throughout the end of the day. Like I said, markets do close at 8. So maybe if we are, getting a really strong cold, I'll maybe go after a little bit. And then I do have to save some funds for this ASTC possibility tomorrow. Don't have to go too heavy in those when you get yourself a stock that runs 300%. That's what the last one ran. I would never expect that, but still, it just shows you the potential in that UGRO that we had. So if you go back to the day, I'll show you what I'm talking about. I could zoom back to the day. It was last Wednesday when it did it. And pre-markets really, when it happened, after hours, it went squeezed crazy. But as you can see, it held these lines. Eventually, it held the third line and squeezed above that last one. This one is VWAP close, which is pretty nice when it holds this VWAP close spot. And eventually, when it squeezed above 850, it never came back to that spot. Still hasn't. And it actually went nuts after hours. Went to 56 from 6. So talk about a move. And it still hasn't came back. Now, I wouldn't expect all of them to do something like that, but it just shows you the potential. BTQ new highs. It doesn't want to dip. I don't know if I want to chase after that one, but I'm definitely going to buy some more ABAT very, very soon. And then BTQ, I'll watch after hours. I might get some if it closes, stays like this, or if it gets a little dip after hours. But I think ABAT's going to be my one right now. And then HOVR is very light. If you like that one, you could try it. It's drone related. And with the war going on, drone related stuff is very, very hot. There's keywords that I like to look at when it comes to war related stocks. And these are the keywords: oil, energy, defense, drone, missiles, robotic, government, and then usually the countries that are dealing with heavy machinery right now. All right, so BTQ new highs. Both last times it closed like this, it literally gapped up pretty nicely. But we got a wick on both of them. So let's see if we get some sort of wick here. Come on. Give us a pullback. All right, I'm buying a little more of this ABA3 right. And now we have 10 minutes left. We're looking for the buzzer beater push is what I like to call it. Try to get more ads in. I'm also watching for BTQ. Those are probably going to be the two that I try to creep my way in here into the close. Both Microsoft and the markets are making new highs here, which is good to see. So just slowly trying to creep our way into the ones that we like on the bid. Markets have been pushing pretty strong into the close. We have 9 minutes left here. This is usually when I really like to get in if I haven't got in yet. So looking for BTQ to get a little dip and to get the rest filled in our ABAT. But those are the two. Over, I have a small limit, nothing too crazy. But really just looking for those two to maybe follow up, gap up with the markets here overnight. That would be the goal. Gold and silver is also making some really big bounces. If you look at the ETFs GLD and SLV, you got some really nice bounces going in both of these. Beautiful to see. Will this hold into the close here? Celsius getting a pretty nice dip here into the close. Let's see if this can actually get a really big dip into the close. ELAB, ELAB, another huge runner here on the day. So that one's already making that morning momentum squeeze play. You have ELEAB. And then the AI stock from earlier that we were talking about, BFRG. So those will also be ones you want to watch after hours. But the main watcher will be tomorrow morning, and I'm saving some funds for it just in case, would be ASTC. It looks like it's going to hang around here. We still have 5 minutes left, but I will create the last little bit of lines in the last couple of minutes. Since ABAT's a slower mover, I got most of us filled by now at 280. So close to 3,000 shares is what I got there. It's like 2,500. And we'll see if there could be a follow-up. BTQ, I'll still be watching as well, but I just don't like that it didn't dip at all for me. We got 5 minutes left. This is when I say I look for the buzzer beater pushes. Tomorrow we do not take off until 6:25 or 6:24 for the space takeoff. So maybe we get some momentum. Maybe CDU spikes and we get some momentum. Also, don't forget Easter is Sunday. So Friday we are closed for Good Friday. There's not a lot of holidays, but we got a nice holiday there. This is why I say wait for dips, because you're getting really late dips in the end of the day in Microsoft and Celsius, which if you like those, now would be the time. You only got 5 minutes left. Obviously, they move after hours, but in those ones, you want to catch these dips usually. So let's see how far. If they came back to support, I would go after them. Like if Celsius came like they're here, but not big enough yet for me. I think there's better ones. These other ones have the better opportunity. All right, so 280. We want 2,600 shares. That's what we got. So that is what we're going with. I'll be watching that BTQ as well, possibly buying some too. Sorry. Fuck, did I put that? But we don't have enough time for me to lollygag anymore. No way. Chris said a client passed out in the shop. He was also bagging Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac with us earlier. But that sounds like a crazy situation there. Guys tagging bags and he's having to deal with that. That's nuts to hear that story sometime. Oh, let's go, Chris. Look at you're learning the short now. You got that short, you got the long and the short. Love it. Love it. I get you with ABAT though. I didn't see it. It's had a good day all day, and we've been watching it since this morning. If you were with me this morning, this is the main stock we've been watching. Same with BTQ and Hover. They've all been there. So these aren't really new to the chat. If you are on the live stream, you can always catch us every single day trading. Real people, real profits all together. So if you want to come join us, it's the Stock Mavericks team in the Simpler Trading website. Microsoft's actually getting a pretty nice dip here. Like I said, it'd have to come all the way back to support / VWAP. But those are the dips you'd like if you do like those. Hover actually came down to 140. It's trying to, as it keeps holding that spot. So nice to see that. 2-minute warning. 2 minutes left. It looks like just the ABAT will be the one we take for now. And I'll keep watching BTQ. I do think it's a good one to watch here into the close. So we'll see what happens. All right, ABAT's giving us that last second fill. All right, last minute here, guys. And like I said, as long as everything still holds into the close, that's really ideally what we look for. And then tomorrow is really where the action happens. We woke up tomorrow morning to a huge gap up. Nothing better than waking up to $1,000 profit or more. You know, everyone decides your size, though. You are your own boss. That's the beauty of stock trading. All right. Last 10 seconds. Nice close by the QQQ, up 3.4%. The SPY is going to end up closing up 2.9%. And there is the bell. So 279 will be the spot, 267 for BTQ. Watch them after hours. See if they get any type of movement. Maybe if they get dips, maybe we'll add some. We'll see what happens. Keep taking it one day, one trade at a time, guys. We have a lot of stocks that are creating earnings after hours. This ASTC, so we'll finish off the lines real quick before we go. But it ended up closing at 523, which is nice. We got that VWAP close at 468. And these stocks are very similar price to that last one that went crazy. So we'll be keeping a close eye on this tomorrow. There it is. All right, everyone. Keep taking it one day, one trade at a time. Keep an eye on these after hours. And we'll see everybody bright and early, ready to tag another bag, hopefully for another big gap up, $1,000 gap up or more, 10-15% gap ups. That's usually what we look for percentage-wise. Himini, nice, dude. My best day ever for Himini, it says. Let's go. Love to see that. We've had a pretty good day together, team. Let's keep it up. One day, one trade at a time. All right, y'all. See ya. YouTube fam, hope to see you on the team. And if not, I'll be back here next week.